Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 3, Episode 47. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro, and I had two very special guests with me that we haven't done a three recording in a little bit, but we've been together quite a few times this year. My lovely co-host, Paul, how you doing?
Hey everybody, I am really good at power scaling development companies apparently.
Yeah, and once again, joined by single-player experience host.
Man, it's me. It's Sebastion Mauldin, ready to talk about the Game Awards. How y'all doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, it's been like I did my own Frozen. I tried to do like a Frozen with Oreo. It worked pretty well. So I just to kind of fuel myself up. Like
Gosh, that does sound kind of good.
Yeah, I literally just joloed it. Just like I'm gonna do like a coffee, just a coffee cup. I'm gonna put like 1.5 bags of ice and throw Oreo cookies. Let's see how it goes, and it turned out pretty well. So. Yeah,
that's good.
Paul is free. If you can see, Sebastion, Paul is freezing right now. It's cold up there.
You say freezing. It's just a really nice, thick Sherpa-lined hoodie that I'm wearing. It bulks me up a bit. Now it changes up my silhouette a little, so I got to change things up, for the look.
It looks nice. It looks nice.
Thank you.
Sebastion,
I feel very fancy in this.
It's not too cold right there in Dallas yet, right?
Man, it fluctuates. It's enough to get you sick over here because like yesterday was cold, today was kind of warm, the day before that was cold. It's all over the place.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep a tab on it because remember I'm going to Dallas like on the 27th, and I already see the fluctuations on the weather app. I think it's at 76 right now, but then tomorrow drops like the highs again. So it reminds me of Tulsa. Tulsa was exactly like that. But that because today is a special day because we just obviously yesterday we watched the Game Awards, the entire 3.5-hour show, and yep, it was quite a chunky one. Paul, that Paul got to see most of it, shockingly, like before, like you bailed out at the tail end, right? Or because your phone died?
My phone literally died right at the very end of it, so all I missed was the very last reveal and the Game of the Year, which is, didn't shock any of us, but we'll get to that in a second.
Oh, yes. So before we read all the who won at that show and what was announced at the show, this is just a reminder that this is the X Button Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing, available in the YouTube channel, Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. If you like our show, give us a like and subscribe. What have we been playing today? I will just say I'm playing Avatar. I'm reviewing that, so I'm going to say more of that game next week. But the Game Awards.
Like a catchphrase? Like, like some like Avengers have the Avengers catchphase, Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it's the way of water, man.
I guess.
So that's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna save my thoughts for next week's episode, just to when I play a little bit more. So Game Awards happened. This is the 9th edition of the show. Next year is gonna be the full 10-year anniversary. Even though Jeff Keighley, the host, has been like already mentioning the whole 10th anniversary things. But I'm like, hey, your 10th anniversary is actually next year. Why are you talking all about that now? He did this year the 10-year orchestra over at the at some weird auditorium in the over at Los Angeles that I got to see some clips. That was so cool. It was the same orchestra that he uses for the show that did so many games, including the one game I wanted to be in the medley at the end that wasn't because it wasn't nominated for the top 6, and the big win they got in score, it was just like one of the shotgun blasts that they did very often in the show. What do you think, Paul? What do you think of this year's edition?
Overall, see, it's weird because you have to take a step down into the abyss each time. So at the first level, it was great. We got a lot of fun stuff. There was a lot of really big names coming in. We got a lot of prestige. We got a lot of excitement. We got a lot of really smooth stuff. Nobody jumped on stage this time, which is great.
Which, by the way, do you see that they gave him a restraining order? He posted the restraining order on Twitter. It's lifetime. Like, he's forever banned.
Good. He shouldn't. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. So, yeah, I mean, overall, if you're looking at it from a surface level area, it was fantastic. And a lot of games, there was a lot of really cool moments and all of that. And then you start taking the step down and you're like, things are not really the best in this situation right now, honestly. And my my final thoughts are just it's kind of middle of the road where I'm really torn
Mhm.
on the one side of, like we all are,
Mhm.
the great games that came out and the really messy practices, and especially with the Game Awards specifically, as we've seen.
Celebrating the devs or lack
A lot
thereof.
of yeah, it's a lot of that, and a lot of the messy situation, which I will say Jeff Keighley has already responded to that officially, and he
Mhm.
said
What did he
that
say?
he said that he had told the crew to take it down a notch on trying to like rush people as the show went on, and they still weren't giving them enough time. And he
Mhm.
said like it's still an issue. We're going to look into it for the future to
Yeah.
make sure that that doesn't happen again, or essentially something like that. Which I was like, I mean, good for you owning up to it, but he also kind of passed the blame to the tech side, was like,
Mhm.
oh, I told them, but they didn't listen. I was like, buddy.
And if you're paying attention, him saying he did that, I don't believe it. I absolutely do not believe it. It got worse as the show kept going. Like,
And he physically ushered like two people off the stage. Like
Yeah.
he physically came and got two people during the show. So I'm like, I don't quite believe that sincerity of
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Sebastion, what do you think of this year's edition?
It is a tale of two sides,
Mhm.
kind of like what Paul was saying. I mean, I do think I didn't really hear, maybe y'all did, of any like sympathies towards all the people who lost their jobs. A record breaking.
Not a single
Not a
mention of that. Yeah.
which is
No, which
a shame.
I mean, on the biggest stage in gaming, so to speak, you would think that, I think I read somewhere that it was roughly around 6,000 to 7,000 people this year.
7,000 confirmed. 7,000
Yeah.
confirmed before the show started.
So that to me is, I don't know. It's like, I feel like you had a responsibility. If you're going to be a figurehead in the industry, I feel like you have a responsibility to say something, or at least, give sympathies. At least give sympathies.
Your mission statement of why you're doing an award show in the first place is we're celebrating the devs that are giving us the entertainment that we all love. Holy crap, does that not show with the way like that was like not even mentioned in a single time, because obviously he was also to get a little bit political. The future class sent a letter also that they wanted him to address the humanitarian crisis happening over at Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they didn't mention that. In my opinion, good on him not mentioning that, because there's a time and place to do that, and I wouldn't want to show, especially for such a complicated geopolitical issue that is that thing. I feel the Game Awards is like the place for that, to do that, other than like a general we share our sympathies for things that are happening, but it's like that was not the right place for that. But the whole depths thing, that needed to be addressed, because this is the year of the record-breaking bittersweet. We have the most quality and quantity of games we have received in a single calendar year we probably will never get again, and that the shadow looming over that statement of, it's like, but all these people that gave us all those games lost their jobs. And there's also the fact that a lot of the people that did set layoffs are also in his advisory board, so you can kind of see like he's a slave to his corporate overlords in a way, even though that is like his own show. But I feel this was a great winter games showcase. I thought the games that were revealed here were actually pretty good, especially reading that whole list. And I actually wrote an op-ed over at Season Gaming today that already went live, where I make the argument that the show can exist, but it's time for a rebrand. Don't call this a Game Awards. You put so much effort into, can't wait to show you what I'm gonna announce here. Hey, tune into this here. When in the lead up to the show, he's always teasing up how many cool announcements happens. What's the thing he's never teasing? Can't wait to see who wins. Can't wait to celebrate the devs and all that. It's like, that feels like such blatant lip service that it's time. Especially this is the year where the dam broke, where I cannot believe how often they were ushering off so many guests, so many like devs and even actors. Obviously, big overcorrection over what happened with Christopher Judge last year, that he went for like 8 minutes. But I feel like you shouldn't have swung the other way, especially in a year where the treatment of devs was in such a thin line, that this was not the year for them to treat. Like, I feel bad for someone like Sam Lake when he got one of his first awards, and then the song immediately started and he got startled, and then he felt like he had to, like, you could even see in his face, it's like, oh, okay. Or even someone like Neil Druckmann, when he showed up on stage when he won for best adaptation, he immediately saw the counter, like, oh yeah, I see the counter, so I'm gonna like go real quick and go at it. It's like, you shouldn't feel that way. And even worse for the Game of the Year winners, Baldur's Gate 3. That they were even mentioning the people they lost on the way, and they were still being told to wrap it up, and I'm like, you're not airing on TV, you're not under any broadcast limits. I would understand. Yeah, a streaming show can go as long as you can. Like, are you being paid by the hour by Peacock Theater or that? But it's like that shouldn't be like. Now everyone has seen like Threads got treated really bad this year, and on top of Sebastion, we talked about it, the nominations this year were a catastrophe. Let's just say like how many some of those nominees lists just clearly show a lack of care. That lack of care was felt in the actual celebration of this more than any other year. We got shotgun blasts where best RPGs, best accessibility, best so many of those categories. We're just like in those like quick. I'm gonna read them real quick. I'm like, what a huge disrespect. It's time, like, if what you want to have is E3 in winter, have E3 in winter. Rebrand, no one's gonna care that you rebrand because I see it online. It's like, oh yeah, I don't care about the words. I'm tuning in because of the trailers. That is like, that's just the reality. And I'm like, yes, if that's the reality, just build towards that reality. People are gonna show up. You tell, hey, it's time for winter E3. Let us tell you where you're gonna be playing until June. And then when June rolls around, here is Summer Game Fest. Here for the next 6 months. Have your 2 shows. Like, do that instead of like pretending you're gonna celebrate devs and then they get the worst treatment. We're gonna hear more about Gonzo, the puppet, the Muppet. He's gonna go 5 minutes saying like weird random crap, and then for a dev to only get 30 seconds. Or you're only gonna usher Hideo Kojima to talk for 15 and 20 minutes over nothing. At that point, I was like, wow. It's like you had him on stage. Obviously, you got Jordan Peele in. You got him on stage, and I'm like, but he didn't really say nothing. Like, why did you spend so much time with him and then everyone else is rushing? It's like, no, it's like, devs deserve better. Absolutely, devs deserve better, and this show would be better so just to being an announcement show, because when you see the quality of the announcements, you got the goods. So, let's read over it real quick. For the people that cared, the guys that won. So, I'm going to the IGN list that they compiled real quick. Crap, I opened. No, there it is. So, I'm going to read this real quick. So, obviously, we got Best Narrative. It was won by Alan Wake 2. Best Art Direction, also won by Alan Wake 2. Best Score in Music, won by Final Fantasy 16. Best Audio Design, won by Hi-Fi Rush. Best Performance, won by Neil Newbon for Asterion and Baldur's Gate 3. Games of Impact, won by Tchia. Best Ongoing Game, which I like calling this is the Martian moment of... by the way, Sebastion, do you remember when The Martian, the Matt Damon movie by Ridley Scott, won the best comedy at the Golden Globe Awards? This Cyberpunk winning best ongoing game, it's basically that is what happened in this category for me, because like Cyberpunk is not an ongoing game. It's not that. No. They just found a way to find. They wanted to give him an award. They snuck it up there. So best indie game, Sea of Stars. Best debut indie game, Cocoon. Best mobile game, Honkai Star Rail. Best community support, Baldur's Gate 3. Best VR AR game, Resident Evil Village. Which, by the way, Village won more awards than Resident Evil 4. Insane. Innovation and accessibility, Forza Motorsport. Best action game, Armored Core 6. Best action adventure game, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Best RPG, Baldur's Gate 3. Best fighting game, Street Fighter 6. Best family game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Best sports racing game, Forza Motorsport. Best sim strategy game, Pikmin 4. Best multiplayer game, Baldur's Gate 3. Content Creator of the Year, Iron Mouse. Best esports athlete, Lee Faker Sang-hyuk, winner. Best esports coach, Christine Potter-Chi. Best esports event, 2023 League of Legends World Championship. Best esports game, Valorant. Best esports team, JD Gaming. Most anticipated game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Best adaptation, The Last of Us. Player's Voice, Baldur's Gate 3. Best game direction, Alan Wake 2. And the winner, Baldur's Gate 3. Were you surprised by any of these wins, Paul?
It's either what I was going to be expecting, or I picked something that I wanted to win, and instead it was the one that I kind of expected. I'm trying to go through right now and think about anything that was like a true surprise. I mean, I don't know if I would consider Zelda an action adventure game,
Nope.
That's not really a thing. But Baldur's Gate sweeping, absolutely mobile game. Of course, Honkai Star Rail. Those Genshin players are going to show up no matter what. Debut indie game sounds like it was a pretty big surprise for a lot of people, but at the same time, Cocoon I've heard a lot of good stuff about anyway. So, really just ongoing games. Cyberpunk, I guess this would be kind of a surprise for me.
they are the Martian of this show. It's like that. That is like one of the dumbest wins I've heard. I was like, they should have put like old game of the year if you want to do that, and that's where you put Cyberpunk or best DLC of the year. But ongoing game is like, again, like there is no care. Like we talk about this, Sebastion, kind of like, what is a games as a service now? This is the problem. Cyberpunk is not games as a service. They were nominated with games as a service, which are ongoing games. That's kind of like the whole point. It's like this just further being one of the biggest platforms for people that tune in. When you see that, that's what causes the confusion. That's just it. My big noted thing is that Spider-Man 2 got that many nominations and got 0. Like absolute 0. It's like, and Spider-Man 1 was also the same thing, but they didn't get that many nominations. It was just like a few that it got other than Game of the Year. But Spider-Man 2 also like is one of the most rewarded, like most nominated games that got 0, and they're making literal news headlines out of it, which is funny. But the Insomniac curse continues for me. And I'm surprised how much Alan Wake won. That was like, I literally threw all my darts for Alan Wake in the big ones. And the only one that I missed for where I nominated was for Game of the Year. But hey, at least we got to see the performance. I'll say this. I like seeing the performance. It just works so much better in the game. It works a million times better because that's what made that thing special, when you're actually playing and you see all of that happening. Though I appreciate it was the exact same choreography. If you look at the screens of that amazing sequence, so
it's kind of good that they got Alan Wake's voice actor to not be the main guy on there, because it's much easier to sing that and let the actor just kind of do the moves without having to sing at the same time, because that'll wear you out. I found out, but my goodness. I did call it.
How'd you find out, Paul?
Yeah.
Oddly enough, when I got really into Broadway musicals, and specifically Hamilton.
Thank you, Sebastion. I was going to ask that.
Also, I was in one. It wasn't a musical, but it was a thing in 7th grade that I played a character in. But anyway, that's not the point. I found out because Lin-Manuel Miranda was in Hamilton. He was far less athletic and capable as everyone else. So all of his choreography involved him standing in a spot and singing, and everybody else is like doing flips and stuff around him because they're just much better. But that's how I found out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I had to know. I just had to know.
And that's the thing, Sebastion. Think about it this way: Paul is a 6'5" giant. Picture that. Just picture that.
I'm not the acrobatic type, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're the one that carries.
I call it though, Alejandro. I called that Alan Wake 2 would not win Best Score, and that would not stop them from playing Old Gods of Asgard anyway. So.
Oh yes,
I got a little bit of validation with that one.
Yeah, I was sad that Ben Starr didn't win the best actor, but I'm not against Astarion. Like the little that I played of Baldur's Gate 3, like Astarion makes such an impression. So that's why I was like, yeah. And also Ben Starr won over at the Golden Joystick, so it's not like he hasn't gotten anything. This makes 2 wins for best score of Final Fantasy 16, which is, in my opinion, the one element that undoubtedly they should deserve. Like from score, that's like the one area. It's like, obviously you can make many arguments about the game. Obviously, Sebastion, you're currently playing, is like,
yeah,
it's a game where many people have very opinions in regards to its high quality in specific places, is low quality in other places. But the score is like unanimous. That's like the one place, and Ben Starr was also that one. But everyone was saying that he was gonna win because he had been showing up in every freaking content creator's channel like over the entire year. Like he's been over at EC Allies, which he's like officially become like their UK correspondent. Like they make that joke because he shows up so often, and they're the kind of people that vote in this thing. So I thought he had it in the bag, but I guess people had a little bit more integrity. Of like, yeah, we've become friends with this dude. We're not gonna vote for our friend. you know what I mean?
I think it's just how good Astarion was. Like,
yeah,
you know, like he is. Well, I mean, Paul can kind of like back me up on this one. It's like he is one of like the characters you gravitate to and want to learn about, even if you don't play as that character. Like, like he has so much like lore and backstory to him. in Baldur's Gate 3.
It's funny because I did not play with him
I
at
didn't either.
all. For like the first act, left him in the camp. Most of Act 2, left him in the camp, and then I picked him up for like one interaction, and he played it so well that I was like, oh my goodness, he just like there's another level of like embodiment of the character that the way he talks and moves and stuff, because all of the voice actors also did a lot of the mocap, I know that much.
Yeah.
And he felt like he was really there, and where some of them are a little bit stilted where they're just kind of standing there talking, Astarion just will not, like, the camera practically has to follow him the way he moves around while he talks, and I can see why a lot of people love that. So I'm looking forward to keeping him around, to seeing what the deal is with him, and finding out more.
I'm gonna make an effort this holiday to play more for Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not gonna make the commitment to finish it, so that doesn't matter, but I'm gonna try more, because
do yourself a favor though and definitely change that difficulty to like a custom or something.
Yeah,
I've already put it at the lowest, just to try to like pass through as much as I can.
Not just that, but I think the custom can make you really dial in exactly what you want out of it. Like, I mean, how you know, but I wasn't able to unlock or use the custom once I started a game. It was weird. I could only pick from the main three. I don't know if I just couldn't find it on the menu right, but you know, when you pull up difficulty, it's three big options.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a custom. So I guess once you already have a game going, you can't really change it that much.
Are you doing PC? Or are you doing
just
PS5? PS5.
PS5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, start off with like maybe like as much help on the gameplay side as you can, and that way like a lot of that would be kind of taken care of for you. Make the gameplay as simplistic as possible for you, and then just enjoy the narrative, enjoy like the scenery, and play it almost like your own fantasy, so to speak. Almost like a daydream of what you would want to happen in this situation where aliens and fantasy kind of come together.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's it. I'm more open to, like, I actually had to play KOTOR a little bit to kind of get in the mood, because KOTOR is very similar in that style. So that helped me, like, finally, like, because I just played the tutorial, and I told Paul, like, I had a problem that I didn't read the instructions right when you find Cthulhu guy that's fighting like this demon guy. I stayed fighting them instead of trying to move my party all the way to the controls, and that's when I died. I was like, screw this, I'm out, I'm not feeling this. And then Paul definitely deservedly blasted me for it. So, but I am a little bit more open. I just have so much on my plate now. So,
it's a lot of reading too. If you're not down for like a very text heavy game, it might not be for you either.
I'm hoping when I go to Dallas, I can find a Portal. I would love to play that thing on a Portal. I feel text heavy games are good when you have them here, kind of like a handhold. Because when you're playing on a TV, it's very easy to get distracted by grabbing your phone. But when you have both your hands and looking at this thing, it's much easier. That's why I love turn-based on handheld. So, but yeah, that was the Game Awards. So it's like, I feel like it was expected wins. Like, it was gonna be between Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate 3. I was just surprised, Sebastion, that Zelda barely won anything. So that just went to show that more people gravitated more towards the surprise. And Alan Wake and Baldur's Gate were this year's big surprises. So.
Yeah, it's also, you know, the release date time of Zelda too. I'm like, it wasn't at the beginning of the year, but it's more towards the beginning of the year too. So recency bias is a thing, man. Yeah,
and to be fair, for Breath of the Wild, it came out in March that year, and it still like was able to clean up. But that was also a year where that was like literally the big thing. 2023 was just built different. That the fact that game was just not easy like cleanup as people thought it was gonna be when it came out. Obviously, you feel a certain way about that game, but in general, like what people were saying is like, yeah, this has it in the bag, but I'm glad that it wasn't. That it made that a little bit more interesting, even though Baldur's Gate 3 basically took that. Everyone knew that this was gonna be the sweeper if we needed a sweep this year. So now we're moving over to like the announcements, starting all the way to the pre-show. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is getting a remake. So that game that came out in 2013 at the tail end of the PS3 and 360 generation, it's out on February 28, 2024 for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Do you guys play Brothers?
I did. That was one of the first PlayStation exclusives that I got like free with the PlayStation Plus account.
PS Plus. Yeah, yeah.
That messed me up.
Yeah, it's a very emotional game. Very emotional.
Just like, let me play this fun little platformer game where you play as two brothers, and I was not prepared for what I experienced.
Yeah, especially
Is it like archaic enough to where it feels like it needs a remake already?
honestly, it looks like it was just visuals.
Yeah, visuals.
But
Yeah.
it was a very simple, like top down. Half of your controller is one brother, half of your controller is the other. If I'm remembering right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left stick was brother, big brother. Right stick was like small brother, and you had to like
Yeah.
control both. So
You could argue it's a twin stick game.
yeah. But you have to like keep track of two characters, and it was like kind of ingenious back then because it was like interesting. No other game at that time were kind of doing that, and obviously that was the quote unquote indie, but it was not quite indie in a way. It was kind of like smaller game. Like we're kind of like in that weird spot. So it's interesting that it's coming back. I wonder how much are they going to price it too, but more people are definitely going to check it out because it's coming from Joseph Fares. He definitely has risen in stardom thanks to It Takes Two. So then we got the next game from the Inscription dev called Pony Island 2. I never knew there was a Pony Island 1. They were talking that this was like, was this a game that was like 15 years in the making? I know there were many.
They hyped that fact up so much, and I was like, I don't even remember this game.
Yeah. So then there's this other game that had a lot of string theory, like string theory stuff called The Rise of the Golden Idol. That had like a big Netflix logo. That the art style reminded me a lot of that At Dusk Falls game that came out like a year or two ago on Xbox.
I think this is the sequel to Case of the Golden Idol.
Oh, okay. I never played that, so I would imagine they had to share the same game, the same name. So then we got this game. I know, Paul, you popped for this one a little bit. Usual June, the game that had like a ghost and a chick. That was kind of, I feel like, an action game moving around. It's like the art style reminded me a little bit of like when it started at first. So I thought, wait, is this Spider-Man DLC? Because if you finished, spoilers for Spider-Man 2, when you get the Spider-Verse connection of that game, and you see kind of that art style, I was like, hey, that looks like the bartender. That's what I thought at first. Yeah. And there was, I don't know, it's like it's an original game. So yeah, that's coming out in 2025. One of the farthest. There's a few that were like far off that got announced. So I'm in for that one when it comes out. Then they announced another game called Harmonium the Musical. This was cute. It had the look of like semi-Pixar movie that's all about like a music from people that are deaf. That is coming to Netflix games and Game Pass. When? I don't know, but I think that's an interesting idea that I'm gonna try whenever it comes out. Then we got Windblown from Motion Twin. Motion Twin, the developers of Dead Cells. So now they're doing another roguelike, but now with the semi top-down perspective that Hades popularized. And it seems like this is going to be like a co-op game, and it's entering early access on PC sometime in 2024. And
I really appreciate the weird trend that nobody agreed on, but it's that top-down-ish isometric roguelike games get absolutely insanely good animated intros.
Yeah.
Between this, Hades, Dead Cells itself, and a lot of other ones that I can't think of right now. Yeah. That just seems to be the thing.
Though Dead Cells, remember, was side-scroller. So it was like side-scrolling Metroidvania.
Right, so maybe not that specifically, but like that kind of style of roguelike.
I remember one of Keely's shows, there was like also a top-down roguelike that had like, that looked like very artistic too from one of his shows this year. I don't remember it. Do you remember, Sebastion? There was like it looked very blue and yellow. I forgot the name. So I'm trying to think because I think it wasn't
the Death game, wasn't it?
No, it was different. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of the little Grim Reaper thing.
No, I can't remember what it was either. But it's like this is like a weird time for announcements as far as like, because a lot of these looked very much like indie games, and this kind of, even though it didn't have that same sort of art style, it like my mind instantly popped to was it 33 Sentinels? Yeah,
33 Sentinels. They got the game from Xbox. Yeah.
And I'm like, man, there's so many people who are doing these roguelikes right now. It's like, it's the genre at this point.
It's what I tell you. They see who wins Game of the Year, and then a year or two, you see so many of them pop up. Like, I feel like this is like, we've now started to see a bunch of like more Elden Ring like style inspired games that you see later in the game. It's like, oh yeah, more Souls likes. So it's like, it's always that. It's like you have to see who wins, and then people trend chase. So
I do want to shout out like how diverse games were shown like throughout this whole thing, because like Finji with Unusual June being a person of color, like that one kind of like spoke to me. And then like when you keep going with was it like I think it's the ASL harmonium that we
Yeah.
were just talking about. Harmonium. That one looks so cool and has so much personality, and it's really going to speak to someone individually.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they were tastefully presented, because it's very easy. So many people are like, "Oh, representation," and I'm like, no, more representation, especially with the harmonium game. It's like that's the double whammy, because it's like also representing deaf people. So. Yeah, it's unfortunate that then
thinking about something with the deaf game. I just thought about it. How awesome the haptic feedback vibrations are going to pop off in that game.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Obviously, it's going to be catering a lot to the deaf community.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that music is going to be going through the vibration. So
yeah,
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, and both controllers have good vibrations also. So
the crazy thing is, Paul, like that's an Xbox exclusive right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like. Yeah. That's coming to Xbox and
Netflix.
I was just about to say, to shout out, Netflix Gaming is really like trying hard to get these get games like this day and date.
Yeah, if they want to be a serious competitor, they gotta get them. That's just what it is. Like, why Stadia failed? We were in on gaming and barely any games came out. So it's like, if you want to be there, it's like you gotta fight tooth and nail to be there day and date, not just be like sloppy seconds. So
this adds more credence to that rumor that Netflix Games is trying really hard to push for their app to be on, like the game app to be actually on consoles now too.
Oh yeah, I can totally see it, especially because they've been getting a lot of games that, like for example, the Valiant Hearts that got a sequel. So the sequel is on Netflix. So I would wonder, like, hey, we have it, but if you already have Netflix installed because they got the data, it's like now we can have like a Netflix games thing where you can funnel those games in. So. Thresher officially announced that's the sequel to Thumper. Do you play Thumper, Sebastion? Back in
I did not, but I heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's one of those like rhythm games that you get enter into like a synesthesia moment, kind of like Tetris Effect and what's this other game that I forget that is from the same developer. But when you're playing, you're seeing all the visuals, you start vibing and you just kind of like start getting super immersed with like the visuals. Like isn't that kind of vibe? And that's a sequel to that that's coming out in 2024. You probably pop for this, Sebastion. Dave the Diver and Dredge crossover.
Yeah, two games I really loved this year. Dave the Diver and Dredge. I'm like, that seems like a match made in heaven. If I didn't know him better, I'd just say they were the same studio at this point, because they are. Yeah,
we were so confused because me and Paul were just like doing. We're
that's Dave the Diver, and you're like, no, that's the boat from Dredge.
Yeah, it was like, no, it's both games.
I was like, no, it's the other game.
No, is this like a new game? That's like the only thing that I got confused. Is like, did they just came together to be like, oh yeah, it's like now a new game with both of these things, or is this gonna be like a DLC for like both games? If you have one, you get the thing from the other, and vice versa.
I think it's just Dave the Diver. If you have Dave the Diver, this is like free DLC for Dredge add-on for that, because like. Dredge just did their expansion for their official expansion like 3 weeks ago. But both of these games are killing it with new content continuously at this point.
Yeah, Eric that reviewed that game from Season Gaming has been like covering every single, because there was DLC that came out for Dredge like a couple of weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. It was like recent. So
yeah, it is really good too.
Yeah, the Dredge and Dave the Diver I'm saving for. Hopefully they get an Xbox / PS5 port for Dave the Diver, because it's just on Switch still. And whenever there's a dry spell, that I'm pretty sure is going to happen next year. Then we got World of Goo 2 announced. I think this was one of those games that were like 15 years in the making, Paul. And then I was like, is this Spore? And then I was looking, I was like, no. Yeah, because Spore was 2008. So that's what I was trying to think. What could be like a 15-year in the making game? And I think this was a WiiWare game. Like when Wii was doing like exclusive like indie games that are all like lost to the ether now. So that's like the only thing that I could think of. So that was announced. And then we got another look at Metaphor ReFantasio. Basically Persona 6, but not really. I like calling it, even though we know there's a Persona 6 coming. And
it feels like open world Persona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this style. And I vibe more with its fantasy vibe than I do sometimes like the school nature of Persona, even though the school nature of Persona is also pretty cool. I'm glad that they're taking the style, but in a completely different, kind of like a different setting. And obviously this game wasn't new. This was announced back at the at the Xbox Showcase from June, and they just put like at least a release window, which is fall 2024, before we only had the year. So
I'm gonna be honest. I think we're tapped out on this one now. I'm like, I don't think we need any more. The people who want to play this game are sold on it now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We don't need to hear anymore, especially because we're gonna get the Persona 3 remake, which I think had also a trailer there. Remember, Paul? And it's like already in that style. They're gonna get that. Are you oversaturating the market? Even if it's not the same franchise, it still looks the same. So it's like you're gonna get that.
It looks the same and it feels the same. It's like you're gonna get one. You're gonna get the same amount of money from both people, but most are just gonna pick one. I think
they are.
Yeah. So I can imagine the people that don't care for the Persona remake are gonna wait for this one. So then after that, we got Matthew McConaughey like making a long explanation how he was like gonna be part of a game, and we got Exodus from studio called Archetype. What made this? Obviously, it was like a lot of CG trailer and all that until like the very end. You can kind of see like the gameplay, and you definitely can see that former BioWare people that probably worked on Mass Effect are actually working on this because he gave that vibe.
Felt like Mass Effect, that's for sure.
Yeah. The writer Drew Karpyshyn, that he also wrote Dragon Age and Knights of the Old Republic, is writing this game too. So the pedigree, it's there. We have to see more.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I love the narrative. I love like that's the part that really grabbed me because the gameplay kind of looks sluggish.
Yeah, but so that's why I say it's like you can kind of see it, but it's not like super polished. So
no.
If that's what the game looked like, that story better be good. So, because people forget, first Mass Effect was janky, real janky. When you play like 360 Mass Effect 1, not Legendary Edition, not that Legendary Edition Mass Effect 1, really sweet. So, I don't think that had a year, but I can't wait to hear more because who else is going to give us Mass Effect? Not EA. They're going to give us Mass Effect until 2029. So, this one, you can hear, if you're looking at the stream, you could hear the screams over at the audience. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, a free DLC announced that's coming out 4 days. So, it was 5 days yesterday, so it's coming out in 4 days. So, it's basically going to be like an epilogue for the main story. And yeah, free to play is going to be kind of like roguelike. It's so funny that both this and Last of Us Part 2 are going to launch so close like a roguelike mode. Though this one's free. In The Last of Us, you have to pay $10 for it. But I do like the idea that, because remember when PlayStation used to do multiplayer modes from so many of their games and then they stopped doing that?
Yeah.
But then it's like, people like making fun that so many of their games are like movies. Are just movies. They use movies that you play, but it's like no. The gameplay in so many of these games is pretty solid. Ghost of Tsushima, from Last of Us, also God of War, obviously. Why not make more modes that take advantage of the combat? And I feel that's basically gonna be this, with a little bit of story based on some of the things that I read. That apparently this is building from what Kratos saw at the end in that mural. That's basically what this DLC is.
I'm glad that we got this over, because you mentioned modes. I used to hate those modes just primarily because they'd be like these multiplayer modes that always felt like like shovelware add-ons almost.
They were reasons to not sell the game back. That's why they were putting multiplayer modes into their games.
Yeah, and it just never felt good, if I'm being honest. Like, so I'm like, I prefer like the roguelike modes, but even then I'm excited to get back into God of War, but I'm glad they're tying in some story like content to make this feel, I guess, more than just like, oh, we're just throwing you a roguelike mode there.
Yeah, it's like what's interesting, if you paid attention, you see a lot of the Greek stuff there. You see a troll from the Greek game, so I kind of want to see how they like incorporate full Greek stuff into like this roguelike mode, because that's supposed to be, it's like he's gonna go to Valhalla to kind of like go on a spiritual journey of where he used to be and where his life might take him based on like that mural. So that's kind of like what the idea they got for this DLC. So
well, like they started playing the Spartan theme from the old God of War.
Yeah,
in that trailer, I was like, "That's sweet."
Yeah, and the fact that it's free as it is so soon, you don't have to really think too much about it. It's like so close. So I'm definitely gonna try it. I've been like meaning to go back to Ragnarok because I've definitely, like, you've heard me, like both of you have heard me, like I feel I have become more negative on that game as time has gone back. I went to see my text chats that I did with Paul while I was playing that game. I actually did adore it. I don't know like why. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I cooled off on it so much. So this is gonna give me a reason for it. So
I will say though, I think this whole DLC should just be Kratos dealing with the realities of being an empty nest father. He just walks
Yes.
around empty rooms, just does really menial tasks and talks to nobody.
I kind of hope that's what it is too.
Yeah, yeah. That's a hey, look, it's your football.
Yeah, I had the opposite reaction for you, Al, on with God of War Ragnarok, because playing Final Fantasy 16 like has made me miss made me appreciate God of War Ragnarok a little bit more. And it's not to say that's a bad game, but
no, I can kind of see that. That's what's so funny is like they seem like the two similar games, like in different perspectives. I feel the spectacle of 16 is way higher. That's kind of like no. Have you gotten to Titan? Have you gotten to Bahamut? If you haven't, we gotta talk afterwards.
Yeah.
Right, Paul? Like, he hasn't seen Bahamut. He hasn't seen the final fight. He hasn't seen...
I mean, I'm just sitting back comfortably right now. I'm just kind of waiting for it. But I also know that, like, I specifically was popping for a lot of Final Fantasy 16, a lot of areas, but I also was really understanding why some people weren't getting into it, because it was this game of spires and complete desert.
Complete valleys. Yeah.
And it wasn't until, like, I would say at least like the halfway point where I was feeling like those deserts got enough that I was feeling a better swing from spire to spire, essentially. It's just a shame that you have to put in like a decent amount of investment to really feel that.
It's kind of what I said. Is like, we loved that game when we finished it. When we were in the moments, we're like, it's so funny. What your experience of that, as you keep telling us, like, it's a reflection of ours. It felt like that. It's just kind of one of those games that when then you get to that ending and see the entire thing, it like elevates it. It's one of those. So does it justify it? Different. God of War was better moment to moment. That I do remember. So
I feel like the character development needs work on Final Fantasy as well. Like, cause like they
backloaded. They backload so much of it. So much of it.
Cause I was about to say, I'm like, even say what you will about Atreus, I'm like Mimir, like the dwarves, all those people. They mean something immediately, and I'm like, you feel like you're going on a journey with.
Here's an irony. Yeah, here's an irony, because I talked with Gene Park about this. It's like, because he's a big Final Fantasy fan. God of War Ragnarok is a Western JRPG, also in a way that it reminds you a little bit of some like old school Final Fantasy games where you have like your party. Especially because you have more of a party in Ragnarok than you did in the original one, where everyone's like bantering that back and forth. It's like there's so much of FF. You see that in FF7. You see that in like FF10. Even 12 and 13, even the 15 that has like the boy band, and in 16 is usually just you and your dog and one more companion. At the very end, you get an extra companion, but the party element is like much smaller there. So, and a lot of that, again, it's backloaded. You still have a lot to see. It's a long game. Like, I'm not kidding. It's like for that kind of game, probably it's like, because with Paul we were talking about that. Devil May Cry is shorter. Like, you get to like its heights like much quicker because it's meant to that. It's like this has the Devil May Cry combat, but it's like being overimposed in a long ass RPG that is usual Final Fantasy.
Now that you mention it, if you just took all of the Final Fantasy RPG aspect out of it and then only did the really crazy parts as each level, it kind of makes me think it would just be like Bayonetta.
The arcade mode, no,
the most insane side of it,
and you can literally make that in the arcade mode. As you keep like passing the, you can make that individual levels and play it. Yeah,
to get to that, but
exactly.
I see what you mean.
It's so Paul would get this comparison here. It's like Final Fantasy 16 is like introducing more character development, like you said, in the back end. It's almost like for Paul and I, because we're One Piece fans, it's like it's almost like you're doing like all the I guess you could say Dressrosa and all that kind of like Alabaster arc first, and
you get every build-up arc, and then you get the crazy stuff.
It's like, literally that. It's literally that.
And then all of a sudden you're going back to East Blue to learn about these characters, and I'm like, I've been on this journey for 40 hours. I don't need to like. We should have learned about these people by now.
I think it's like the it's definitely that Dressrosa where like you go back and see Don Flamingo's like brother and stuff, and Trafalgar's backstory. I'm like, buddy, just let me see Don Flamingo get punched at this point. I'm so tired. But like you do almost have to get some of that to really get the appreciation. There's some areas where I kind of wish that we didn't go so far back or deal with all of the politicking side of it. I just want to see like crazy monsters punch each other, and I am glad that after a while we get a lot more of that, with one exception. But it's one of those, like, once you invest enough, it makes the victory feel all the sweeter. And especially the final fight being just like the most like DBZ style. I'm gonna use every piece of my powers with crazy orchestral music in the background. It's just as cheesy as you expect and just as great as you want.
I told Alejandro this. This feels like an anime. I'm like, I
It
almost
is.
It
wish
is.
I would. Yeah, I almost wish I could just watch this as opposed to like, because the pacing for a game isn't necessarily my favorite. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's-
I almost
The
wish
pacing's rough. The pacing of
Yeah.
16 is rough. Yeah, it's like to me it was like when we reached those highs, they were just so immensely sweet that it made that the trudge were worth it. But also I haven't like gone back to that game, and I also remember a lot of like, yeah, it's like you're gonna have one of the most epic moments you're probably ever gonna see like in a game from this year, and then you're gonna go collect dirt literally afterwards. Do you remember, Paul? It's literally like that. It's that kind of calm down. So
Yeah,
so
which is why I'm like, it made me, which is why it made me miss God of War, because I'm
yeah,
like,
God of War is like, yeah.
oh,
16 peaks higher in spectacle. God of War Ragnarok peaks, it's more even. And the only bad part of Ragnarok is Ironwoods, which is worse in replay. The first time I didn't mind the Ironwoods, especially fighting the big grandma. That I remembered that recently.
I actually love that part.
I love the grandma. That's what I said. Like I didn't mind Ironwoods. It's just the kind of section that on replay is gonna be rough. So, but yeah, it's like I can't wait to hear. At least I just can't wait for you to get to Titan. I can't wait for you to get to Bahamut at the very least. Like because those were the two moments, Paul. Remember, I was like, you gotta get here. That I can't.
Yeah.
Or
Are both of y'all going to go back and play this DLC for?
we downloaded it today. Oh yeah, I'm going to.
He
But-
downloaded it today. I have
Yeah.
not yet.
no, like he was mentioning.
what's going on with me right now. I don't
yeah.
know what I'm doing anymore.
By the way, I love your dog. I love your dog so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
No.
Sorry, he's like, he wants attention so bad today.
Oh yeah.
He wants to share his thoughts on Final Fantasy 16 in the Game Awards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, yeah, we downloaded the Final Fantasy 16 DLC, which was also announced here. But the God of War thing comes out on Tuesday, so we'll definitely see. There's so much I had to play this December. It's like this is a stacked December. So, continuing from the God of War thing, we got a Big Walk, and now this is the game from the developers of Untitled Goose Game. So we can know who's gonna win the DICE Award the year after this game comes out. Remember that, Sebastion? That Untitled Goose Game won in 2019. Yes, and I had heard because it was such an even split in like what game of the year was that year that the devs just wanted to have fun and give it to like a weird game. That's why Untitled Goose Game won that, because that was the year of Control, Death Stranding, Jedi Fallen Order, Resident Evil 2. That was like such thin margins. So that's why that one won. But it's interesting that they're gonna do a 3D game for that. I don't think I'm gonna play it, but maybe. Who knows? Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 finally got a bigger, more in-depth look in this game. And I will say it definitely looks like a bigger version of the game I played in 2017. A lot of filmic like techniques, and like it's like so cinematic to a fault, and an amazing game to play with headphones because it's about like you hearing the whispers. Hey, look behind you, to your left. This is scary. This is like you hear that in the headphones. It's like so cool. Combat is one-on-one. You could definitely, if you paid attention, when Sen was fighting, he's fighting like a one soldier one-on-one and dodging. That is the combat. I want to see if they are able to make it more deep. But this is a game that's gonna live and die by what they do with presentation, what they do with story. This is if Microsoft wants a game that the very narrow-minded jury that votes in this show likes, I feel this is their ticket item. Even though I think they have other games in the pipeline, like Avowed, that could be better. So, what do you guys think of the trailer?
I
ahead,
feel
Bob.
like I'm a weird, rare Hellblade matter.
Oh, we're on the same page.
both of you.
Yeah, I'm really weird. I remember when it was first announced, and like the whole thing was like it was just a really close up of her face, and I was
Yeah,
like, great,
the technology.
where's the gameplay? And then
Mhm.
it was like, I will say, the crazy set piece with the giant thing, that was pretty
Mhm.
unique, and that
From
was
2 years
totally
ago.
different
Yeah.
from what we've seen.
Mhm.
And even back to the first one, I don't know if I was about the whole like, okay, it's a puzzle and it's also like a one-on-one sword fighting thing, but it's also just seems kind of boring sometimes.
I can see that.
And this one, at least it showed a lot of variety, and I think I went on record saying it feels like a big budget Plague Tale now.
That's exactly. Whoa.
So I
that's-
was like, okay, I could get with that on like a good sale, or if there's just literally nothing else going on. But also, I don't know why this hasn't grabbed me the way a lot of other things have. So that's kind of what my thoughts are.
Also, you didn't play the first one also in its entirety, so that also makes sense. And I know,
also
Sebastion, you
wasn't big
didn't.
on the first one either.
Yeah, so that would be Sebastion, you and I, that we love doing like deep dives sometimes of like old games. That should be an interesting one to do that in your show, just to kind of see. I only played it back in 2017. I haven't gone back to it, so I would like to see how that holds up. Man, your dog loves the attention, right?
He does. He does. Sorry about all this, but
yeah,
he really loves it today. So I really want to, like for a second here, like I do think like the bar for survival horror and all that kind of stuff, like whether it be an action survival horror game, is like so high right now. It's like Hellblade has to hit, like it has to hit like really hard, and not only for like in this genre, but for Xbox, because like Starfield, whatever you say about like the sales and all that kind of stuff, is
it didn't hit.
You shouldn't have to advertise. If Starfield was like the chosen one, they wouldn't have had to advertise at the Game Awards. Like
that was so funny seeing that advertisement, and then trying to like soften and be like, hey, we want to like congratulate everyone that did win this year. It's like, we're cheering you on. Or something. Do you see that message? I was like, this is an interesting ad to throw in. And let's also be honest, because also like a lot of the Xbox community made a huge stink about it, that Starfield was not nominated in the Big Six. I mentioned that in my editorial. It's like, realistically, you would have expected that game to be there. It's just it didn't hit, and unfortunately, because of Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate exposed it. So.
Even then, I'm like, if Baldur's Gate didn't exist, I'm like, could we definitively say that it was better than Armored Core? It was better than Street Fighter. It was like, there's so many games that killed it in its genre to where like Starfield, for everything that it does right, it feels archaic and everything it did wrong, and to a point to where I'm like, many people call like Starfield just like space Skyrim, but like that's stuck in 2013.
Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
and the crazy thing is like, I want to talk about, I want to bring this back to Hellblade fear, because like Hellblade not only needs, because if it's going to be Xbox's biggest thing this year, like that means it's a big exclusive where they haven't had a big, say what you will about Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush isn't a mainline exclusive. Like it is not, like they haven't had their Avengers moment this generation to where like this is their big game. This is the game that everyone should buy an Xbox for. Hellblade, I'm like, Hellblade doesn't look like it's going to be what people buy an Xbox for. And it
looks in visuals, it has that appeal. Word of mouth's gonna be big, and they have to like nail it fundamentally, because again, like the original Hellblade was an indie game. That's what it was like. Hellblade back in 2017 did what Remnant did for me this year. Oh look, it's a way smaller game. It doesn't look small. It looks like high budget. So, but now it has the full backing from Microsoft, and they gave him a lot of time to make the sequel. So it's like expectations are definitely different, and I remember the strengths of that first game, and I wonder if that strengths are gonna like hold up now that this game has a spotlight that the other one didn't. The other one just launched. It launched the same week as Uncharted Lost Legacy and Sonic Mania in 2017. So it was like, and it was like a $40 thing. Now this is gonna be positioned as a $70 thing. So this has the look of the games that people like in voting in this damn awards show. So that's kind of why I said, it's like, if you need an Oscar bait, this is as closest as they get for Xbox to at least try to have something there. But they also gotta deliver, and they always keep just being B+ range all the time.
And here's the moniker here. It's like, this is like the main narrative, and it's an unfair one. Like Hellblade it's not the same game, and it's not like even within the same genre, but like, like this a lot of people are going to compare it because that's what we do. We live in a world of comparisons. Like Hellblade has to be up to the level of Xbox's Last of Us, of Xbox's God of War, and I'm like, and if it's not, what are we talking about here? I'm like, if it's not their God of War, if it's not their Last of Us, if it's not even their Spider-Man 2, then I'm like, oh, that looks rough. You know, that doesn't necessarily come across as like that's not a good look, you know?
Yeah, I can see that perspective. I feel that Ninja Theory has proven before that they have the chops. I love their DMC game from 2013. So I love Enslaved. Heavenly Sword was an early favorite of mine on the PS3. So I feel they have the chance, especially because they acquired them in 2018. This was going to be their opening salvo. They've given them all this time. With all the time that they've given them, they got a hit. So this is the one.
Also, I don't know if Xbox has confidence in them because like I'm talking about like the confidence that like okay, look at what Zelda did whenever like they did their second trailer. They put a date on that bad boy.
Yeah,
they were like they
this
said
is the fourth trailer now and no date.
Trailer. Yeah. I'm like when Nintendo has confidence in something, they will tell you this is that date, and most of the time they don't move that date. No. They're like we're about to nail this. We're about to blow you out of the water. When Spider-Man got a date put on it and such like that. When Spider-Man, and it didn't have a whole lot of trailers too. I think it was only like 2 real showcases.
2 of them,
right?
yeah.
Put a trailer.
1.5. It was like a 1.5, yeah. Because it was like we got the showcase and then just the talk of the director. Oh yeah, we showed the game like 2 weeks ago. It's coming out in October. Bye. That's all they did.
What did they do though? They put a date on that bad boy and like
and they stuck.
Even you said Insomniac don't miss on dates. Whenever they put something on it, like they don't miss on dates.
They're reliable.
PlayStation has confidence in their IPs. I'm like for the most part, like Nintendo has extreme confidence because they know they're gonna kick ass. We're 6 trailers in, and we got fall 2020. We got what is it 2024?
2024, just fall. 2024, not even fall. So it was like I even said that to Paul. I was like, look, and then when I saw the year, I was like, you gotta be effing kidding me. Because it was like
confident, man.
Yeah, that's not confident. It's like now I don't even believe that could slip to 2025. That's a lot. And here's the thing: if you need to cook it for it to really hit, I don't mind it. But then when compared to his competitors, like you can really see the different pedigrees of like the other ones has just had that nailed down so often. And Xbox is still kind of like they finally got quantity of releases back. Like they did that better this year than they did last year. Quality wise, they still got to climb. So you can make the argument that 2021 games they released were better quality than this year. So I'm rooting for them because I like that first Hellblade, and I'm also like inadvertently I want to keep rooting for Xbox because a healthy Xbox is gonna be much better as a competitor against PlayStation and Nintendo, because if they keep fumbling, the other ones are just gonna keep coasting. So that feels like that game if it hits based on how it looks. And that people sometimes are very shallow, and that if it looks very pretty, if it looks absolutely pretty, that tends to win more attention. It's like when you compare to like what Starfield looks like you put both games next to each other, despite like what one game may do of the other one, at least Hellblade looks like something you expect from a big quadruple A company right now than Starfield compared to.
Let's be real though. Alan Wake has just raised that bar for survival horror in presentation, in gameplay, and every across the board. So I'm like, that's a
third party.
If a first party game is worse than that third party game, I'm like, that's not a great look.
Yeah, and the excuse making is over. Like this was the year where the excuse making is over. It's like that now. It's like there are no more excuses for Xbox going into next year. They got financial success this year. They can say that, but it's like we know that's not what they want. They want more. I want them to prove it. Sarah Bond, now that you're over on Xbox, I'm hoping you do better than Phil Spencer. So.
Yeah, guys, I'm about to head out for a little bit, but I really want to say great recording with y'all. I want Xbox to succeed. I want to be super negative, but like want Xbox to do well. Great recording with y'all. Always love it. I will catch y'all on the next one.
Awesome. I'll catch you on the next one too, Sebastion. Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
And now we move on, and we can blast through the rest. So, Paul, so after Hellblade, Ikumi Nakamura, the chick from Ghostwire Tokyo that everyone loved at E3 2019, and then she left that company. She made her own studio and announced their first project called Kimuri, which was like a Japanese Sunset Overdrive. I remember it was like it felt like that. Apparently it's gonna be like an action game, and apparently that
Whatever
was the
it is
pitch.
about it.
Yeah,
The
it's like that was
designs were great.
yeah, that was just the pitch. That's what's so
Yeah,
funny.
I remember she said right at the start, she's like, "This is," or Jeff said it, that
Uh-huh.
I wanted her to come on before she even had like the funding of a real like studio behind her. I was like, you know what, power to you, because that's what a lot of I found out. I think after I was really bad mouthing one of the cinematic trailers, is that they make the cinematic trailers separately so that they can hire people for the game and get funding for the game. When they actually start making it. So I was like, all right, it's got its place. I gotta.
Sometimes this is the elevator pitch.
Expectations.
Kind of, you know how when people go for like venture capital and all that, they put this kind of trailer. Kind of like that's tiny slice. So I can't wait to hear more because she is just such a lovely lady. Like she's just so likable that I want. I want her game to feel like it hits hard, especially because Ghostwire Tokyo ended up not being the game that she wanted because she had to depart and they soft rebooted.
And even then, it was still probably the most unique FPS of that year. Because that was what, 2 years ago now?
Yeah. Last year.
Wow.
That was last year.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Yeah. It was in the post Elden Ring shadow, so it got overshadowed. So.
Yeah. I remember playing it and enjoying it, and then I was like, all right, got better things to play.
Yeah. Same. It was like that Elden Ring postpartum depression was hard for so many of those games afterwards. So. Then after that, we got the new game from Moon Studios. This was one that when we were like doing that chat,
for the wicked.
Yeah, I popped hard because I love the Ori devs so much. This is such a unique looking pirate game. Like it had that, and it was.
I don't even think it's pirates anymore. At first, I thought it was, but there's so much.
It's like a mix of everything.
That I'm down for all of this. The isometric, really volumetric look to it. It didn't look like it was anything like, a lot of those games that are doing that nowadays, they make the game needlessly hard. I didn't feel like it was that. It was more like an action game than anything else. A lot of adventure look to it. I just love the designs for everything. I love the style. This one dude was like swinging this giant sword around. I was like, sign me up, this is great. And the title card as well, just great, like turning the T into the broken sword, and the I, really solid. So I really want to hear more about it.
Supposedly that's coming out next year.
Yep,
they're doing
we get March 1st. There's the
first look, like the first big like media look is gonna happen on March 1st, so that's cool. And unlike Ori, this is launching multi-platform, so they're no longer under Microsoft, so they're probably self-publishing this one. So, because Ori was like a first party or like a second party Xbox exclusive before they let that game go to Switch, like both games. So, excited because I love Moon Studio, especially that first Ori game is like in my favorite games of all time. So, after that and a big gonzo interstitial there, this is the announcement that when that happened, I was like, we gotta mute our PJ chat right now because this was what Sega teased, because Sega sent a bunch of invitations to so many like content creators, including like Maximilian Dude and others, being like, hey, we're gonna be there, we're not gonna tell you what's gonna be there, but tune in. And then they did like a big nostalgia play with like the arcades and all that, and then they just show up and say, hey, remember all those like classic franchises we used to have? Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Crazy Taxi. Guess what? We're bringing them back. All of them. It's like, and looking modern. It's like, it's so funny. We got Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which was basically, they're not doing Jet Set Radio, we're doing it ourselves. And now they launched this, and it's looking as good as it did. I'm like, Sega, it's so funny. Gene Park did an interview today with Sega, and they were mentioning that Sega has been building towards this moment where they've been like building their war chest with the sales of Persona, Yakuza, and Sonic. And the success of those three franchises have given them kind of like now the confidence to go back to their crazy ways. Pun intended with Crazy Taxi. Because these were like big late 90s franchises that some of these were like Golden Axe and Streets of Rage and Crazy Taxi. Big mainstays of the arcade scene. Big mainstays. If you went to an arcade, these games were there.
I didn't even play Streets of Rage or like let me clarify that. I didn't play as many arcade games as a lot of people would say they did, and I still had heard of Streets of Rage, obviously Crazy Taxi, and I knew of Jet Set Radio because I had one cousin that had an Xbox,
Yeah,
and it just looked like the coolest game, and I never got to play it.
I will never forget it because that's the game that came bundled in with my Xbox. It was that and Sega GT 2002. It was a race. It was like a double game. Like the box had both games, like one side and the other in the back. So
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
it was so good. And Jet Set Radio was like so cool. One of the earliest, coolest looking cell shaded games. That was even before Zelda Wind Waker for me. So it was like my first time looking at a game looking like that. So that is huge. Like because again, this proves that Sega is in like really good spot right now.
It's gonna sound really dumb, but when was Beautiful Joe? Was that before Wind Waker?
After Wind Waker.
Okay, that was like, don't tell me Beautiful Joe was the first time that happened.
No. So it was like we got Jet Set Radio in 2002, Wind Waker in December 2002, like March 2003, depending on when it launched, either in Japan or no, actually no, in Japan it launched early in 2002. We got it in America in December of 2002, Wind Waker, and then we got Beautiful Joe the next year. Or 2 years. I think it was 03 and 04 because we got that and the sequel almost immediately. So that started becoming more like popular. And Jet Set Radio was one of the first ones that I got to see that from. So super glad that that's happening. I'm glad that they saw that Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which I think it's on sale right now. I'll definitely go look.
I think it's on somewhat of a sale. I can't remember how.
Yeah, because it launched on all consoles. Because it launched on PC and Switch first, and then it launched on the other two after. So it's like that was apparently super good. So now after that, this game had already.
This next one is, people are insufferable online about it right now.
Sparkling Zero.
The Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is, I think that's the same as what the
Budokai 4.
Budokai.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if I was misunderstanding it because I think I missed part of this for a brief time. So I wasn't sure if Budokai Tenkaichi 4 and this were the same or if they were two separate games. So I'm glad to know.
From what I understood, because this was announced a few months ago, somewhere. I don't remember where.
Yeah. It was just like a quick Goku transforming, and then it was the next Budokai Tenkaichi, and then that was it. We didn't even have a title. But I do have some information on this separately, is that it's going to have one of the biggest rosters of any Dragon Ball game ever, of having characters from the very beginning of Dragon Ball back in the 80s and all the way through to GT, and including Super and all that stuff. The transformations are going to be different, so it's not going to be multiple versions of the characters. You can actually pick Goku and then transform up as you go.
That's awesome.
Which is a surprisingly rare thing to get in a Dragon Ball game. Usually they just kind of separate them out as a different selectable character to just make that simpler. I think that's about as far as I know right now, but it looks kind of crazy. I don't know if I have the heart and soul for this kind of game anymore in me. I used to, but it as you would remember, those power moves that you had to spin the else.
They would wreck your controller. You have to spin. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm not doing that. That's too expensive now. So I'm gonna find
Maybe
out
it's different.
how that game actually plays. Yeah, and it's also made by the people that did Jump Force, which if you didn't know, the gameplay is one of the best parts about it, and everything else really sucked. So that's what we really need.
Never
and
forget.
The only reason the rest of it sucked was because of executive meddling, not Spike, whatever the name behind that is. But so it sounds like it's going to be solid.
Yeah, so obviously not a new announcement, but a bigger look at in a big stage for this one. The look of it is it's looking so nice in the cell shade. So after that we got Dead by Daylight. The super massive game is doing a spin-off for Dead by Daylight within that same universe called The Casting of Frank Stone. So basically what they're doing is that they're gonna be doing Until Dawn, but in the Dead by Daylight universe. I feel like if you latch yourself to a popular, because Dead by Daylight is pretty popular. It's still a pretty popular multiplayer horror game.
That's the only one that survived. All of the rest that have tried are dead and gone.
Evil Dead is dead.
Evil Dead, Friday the 13th, the game, the Dragon Ball game that tried to copy it.
Yeah,
I don't know why that was a thing.
So it's I like how Supermassive does their choice-based story games. I was a big Until Dawn fan. Obviously, you have your story with that game. So we're not gonna relitigate there, but I would be interesting to hear if they're able to pull an Until Dawn with this, and the fact that it's this could be beneficial for Dead by Daylight, because it's like he could bring people in, get into the universe, and then maybe they can stick by and maybe download then the multiplayer side of things if they want to kind of remain. So the synergy can be good on that one. But
I will tell you though, when you told me that this was going to be showing up even before the showcase, I was going to post that GIF of Shaq sleeping. I was just going to hit it back right there, because I was like, not
Don't
my
care.
thing, not my story. But yeah. So anyway,
you did pop for this though. Visions of Mana.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, coming in 2024. So Square Enix basically bringing the Secret of Mana franchise with Visions of Mana and looking like Kingdom Hearts. The combat is absolutely not. I feel like Mana was a turn-based RPG, and now they're doing it more action.
That's why
so.
I was kind of surprised, because I was expecting it to cut to like Dragon Quest of turn-based, like, all right, hit the button and then it swings. But the fact that it looked like he was like gliding around, he had a double jump, he had an air dash to the side. I was like, hold on, we get like an actual. The fact that freaking Kingdom Hearts just barely exists anymore because Tetsuya Nomura needs to get, I don't know, he needs inspiration or something, and nobody else really tries to do that anymore. Just like recreate Kingdom Hearts, just like a cool JRPG with action elements.
That's what's
like
so
that.
funny. Obviously, you can make
It's
so much.
crazy.
Yeah, you can make so much fun of what Kingdom Hearts is with its like borderline impenetrable plot that requires so much homework outside of just playing the games. But
Getting
the actual
outside of
gameplay,
even the lore,
Yeah.
the gameplay itself is so solid that it kind of blows my mind that like that really tactile kind of gameplay just wasn't recreated, and even Kingdom Hearts itself barely caught that once, and then ever since has been like a lot floatier, more difficult to work with. Doesn't bother me, but a lot of people are purists. But this looks really solid, and I really want it to do well just for that reason, because if the gameplay is good, I'll play 100 hours of that. That is what I love. So,
yeah, and the art style is beautiful. Also,
art style's beautiful. The designs are freaking gorgeous and super unique looking. It's not weird anime boy number 10 with black hair. It is like, you just look at that and it is like, okay, yeah, somebody put some work into this.
By the way,
I
Paul,
love the weird curly hair of the main dude.
It's so funny because I remember your game, Sea of Choices. I see so much of the costume design, like
Honestly,
the costume designs of the game that you draw art. And by the way, go check Dork of Art over on Twitter.x. Like that, this game inspired Paul to go back to doodling like characters.
I pulled up the trailer for it because I went through that and like one other trailer I watched Monster Hunter Wilds, the other game that we're going to talk about later. But yeah, I did that in like the first little spot where Home Dude walked up. I was like, I'm going to pause it right here and I'm just going to draw this guy real quick. Because it was just so unique and interesting to look at. I love all of these weird clashing colors on this. It's like, is he out here for an Aladdin cosplay? He's got like a little half cape on his shoulders and then nothing in the midriff. Is weird, but it's hilarious. I had this weird moment of just like, I just want to draw. This is fun.
Yeah. I'm glad that this game inspired that on you, and it's coming in 2024 sometime. So if 2023, Paul, was the year where we got a lot of sequels for franchises that we were already very well known and are just comfortable in seeing them their next step, 2024 feels like the year to be able to try stuff that we wouldn't have never tried before and try some of newer stuff. And I feel Visions of Mana kind of fits that pocket for me. So
I think provided that any other trailers show the same or equally so, I'm sold. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was also sold in the next one because we had already seen it, but this one got its release date, Rise of the Ronin from PlayStation. One of the few things that PlayStation had in the show, other than the God of War DLC that's imminent and the FF16 DLC that was announced later in the show. So this finally got like I can see why Goes to Tsushima we haven't heard much yet, because this was so imminent. So I would imagine that Sony didn't want to have like two samurai games and one that is first party from them, and this one is like a game that they negotiated with Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja to kind of like overlap. So now this has a release date now. Just for PlayStation alone, Paul, like for when it comes to like what's like exclusive for that system early in the year, they got Last of Us the remaster early in January. They got Helldivers. They got Helldivers 2 early February, They got Final
They got
Fantasy
Final
VII
Fantasy.
Rebirth like late February, and now they got this game in late March, which it's the same exact day as Dragon's Dogma 2, which is real unfortunate, but that's two big games in like one day also. So it's like we'll see one of them blinks or they're just gonna like go for it. Obviously this is exclusive, the other one's multi-platform, but I can understand a little bit why Sony still remains annoyingly quiet. They technically have stuff like to release, and
They do.
and also the DLC for Final Fantasy 16, that's for them. So it's like they still have kind of like they still have things in the docket that they're still launching. So it's like they don't have the need to say anything, which is so frustrating. But it's like when you look at it realistically, it's like they do have stuff. They do deliver stuff. So Rise of the Ronin now March 22nd, 2024. Hopefully it's like as fun as it looked. So Hideo Kojima showed up to take 15-20 minutes of this entire damn show, and he did reveal a new game. This is the Xbox game that was teased back in 2020.
Reveal in quotations.
Yeah, so basically he just this was actually leaked by Tom Henderson.
Yeah.
And the name was supposed to be Overdose, and obviously it only says OD, which that's OD is basically Overdose, and this is gonna be like a horror game that's gonna be a mixture of many different mediums, and I'm like, hey Kojima, Sam Lake beat you to the punch earlier this year with like Alan Wake, like mixing all the different mediums. He was mentioned, and he's saying that this game is being built on Xbox's cloud technology. I wonder what that means. To me, I just finally want to see Kojima finally fulfill his desire to finally launch a horror game that got taken away from him with Silent Hills. So too long of like hearing Kojima trying to explain this stuff, even though it's like we got it just by looking at the trailer, but then obviously because Jeff has such a man crush on that man, so
Apparently Jordan Peele was going to call Kojima potentially insane in his script, and he edited it last minute on stage to just call him like a genius. And the fact that he walked out of the PT door was actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
because I was like, I feel like I remember seeing that before.
Yeah, it's the PT door.
Sure enough. So yeah, I mean, it's like cool. Kojima's gonna Kojima, but also feel like there was a bit of a bias. But I'm also not going to fault this guy that clearly is best buddies that wants his buddy up there. It's just a shame it kind of messed up everybody else's stuff.
That's like the only problem. It's like I usually love the Kojima representation at Keighley stuff because like obviously like when Jeff Keighley like gave him the Lifetime Achievement Award back in 2016 where he was almost in tears trying to give him that award, that you have to look back at that. It's like so funny. It's like obviously it's like the love between Kojima and Keighley is like it's a meme at this point. At this point, especially how everything was handled, like stepping back into like the whole Game Awards of it all, the fact that he gave Kojima this much time and everyone else was like they were cutting it short is like the bias was a little too much. Like the meme wasn't funny this time. As much as I like Kojima, though, for Xbox's sake, this was the second game that they showed up with in a way. So it's like the fact that now it's like Kojima already confirmed. It's like, yeah, we're doing Death Stranding too, but we also got this game, so he's serving both camps. Yeah. With Sony over with Death Stranding 2 last year, and now this is like at least both camps are being served. Now the Xbox people that heard about that collaboration in the 2022 showcase now see kind of what it is. And here's the irony, Paul. The Xbox people are actually getting the Kojima game people wanted. So in a way, they're kind of winning. Like in the Kojima side, that at least they let him do the horror game while Kojima's still doing Death Stranding, which is great. But it's like people want his Silent Hills. So. And I can't wait to see what Jordan Peele even adds to the thing. I know Jordan Peele's great at horror, like with his movies and all that, so that touch is going to be great. I can't wait to see more. Yeah. Jurassic Park Survival, Paul. They're finally doing a legit first-person like survival game in the Jurassic Park universe, and cool that they're doing that because like we've gotten so many Jurassic Park games that are either a Telltale game that was bad, either it's a Lego game that was okay, the Sim game, which was
where you can run the
Evolution. Yeah, the Evolution 1 and 2. So it's like, hey, at least now we finally get like an actual controllable Jurassic Park game made by
apparently there used to be 2D adventure games back in the
all
90s.
All the way back then.
Which there's a collection of those now that's about to come out next year.
By limited run games are bringing it back. So
That's what it was. Okay.
but this is finally getting the idea of those 2D games into 3D. Will it be good? I'll wait to hear it. But hey, cool announcement.
Care.
Yeah. To me, it was a cool announcement.
I think my love of Jurassic Park is kind of like.
It's no nosedived. Yeah.
This would have been great like 10 years ago, I think.
Or when the Jurassic World movies were coming out. It feels like it's coming too late. Like a lot of these licensed games, yes, the synergy of launching a game next to a movie is the thing that they've tried to move away from, because when we were in the movie tie-in games, they were rushing those games to coincide with that. But you gotta at least hit close to the zeitgeist at the very least. So as we keep speeding through this, Rocket Racing, the Fortnite racing mode that launches today, got like a trailer there. You can go play that now. Black Myth Wukong, the Chinese Souls-like that got a big pop over at Gamescom, got a release date for August 2024. Warframe Whispers in the Walls, like the next Warframe content pack, or whatever they do for Warframe, whatever that it's called. That's coming out on December 13th.
It's like an expansion, I think is what they call them. Warframe 1999. I remember seeing the trailer for that, but I heard nothing about it until like 3 days ago. And apparently the trailer for it hit like 3 months ago.
Yeah. So
who would have thought?
That's one of the reasons why sometimes they put trailers like this here, because some of us sometimes are not like into the weeds of that. And Warframe, unfortunately, is like, I know it's a meme right now that I keep like adding games to our clan to like open. I feel like Warframe's gonna be a hard one, because our buddy Duchess has a very bad experience with Warframe and losing a lot of his stuff. So
justifiably, that was a pretty sketchy situation.
Yeah, and I've tried to get into Warframe, and I feel like I need an expert to kind of pull me through with that one. It is
100% a game that you have to have at least one Sherpa with you at literally all times.
If you're
it's not even like let's load into this one example and then we need a Sherpa. It's like, buddy, if you want to even navigate the map, you need somebody explaining what's going on.
Yeah, so that's kind of why. Like, if we had that Sherpa, I would be more open to it. It's just that I'm kind of like overwhelmed with live service games right now. Like, the finals came out also today, so it's like I would definitely want to try that one. That's basically Battlefield. You should try it. It's 9 gigs. Tales of Kansera Zhao, an EA original title with the actor from Bayek that he was explaining that he wanted to get into. This was the game where he was explaining the inspiration when he lost his father, and that kind of like that energy was like what inspired him to like make this game about loss. That it's basically a really cool looking 2D game that I think it's like a Metroidvania, but the vibes and the spirit that you felt about like what that actor was saying kind of like emanated in this game in a way that I was like, hey, this is on April 23rd. What a great time for it to release. As we keep still building the list, and looks certainly way more colorful than the usual when it comes to like Metroidvanias, and kind of like that idea of like the kind of like that Wakanda style like After Earth thing that it's clear inspiration for that. It's like I thought this was one of the cooler looking things from the show in that kind of like in the smaller side. Then we got Lost Records from Don't Nod. This is basically the next game by the guys that gave us Life is Strange. So it's like very specific for that crowd. I like the first Life is Strange. I haven't played Beyond the Storm. I haven't played True Colors, and I haven't played 2. So it's like I appreciate them. They're not for me. The first Berserker, Kazan, which was like, what was the thing? Do you remember what they were saying?
This was in the Dungeon Fighter universe.
Dungeon Fighter, yeah. So a game based on the Dungeon Fighter universe is like clearly a Souls-like, but with a style that I actually really vibes with me.
It is pretty solid. This is one of those things that like Dungeon Fighter is so cool, and like its backstory and how it operates that it was kind of held back in its weird like 2D dungeon crawler style, and even the fighting game kind of held it back. This might be a really good opportunity to, if this does well enough at least, we can get some really banging games out of them. Yeah,
I'm hoping it's good. So that's all I can hope for that. Then we got to the part where I had a very raw emotional reaction to this part. It was like it was a Final Fantasy VII Reaver sequence where it was like a musical interlude where they were like basically playing upcoming music from that game, like orchestrated by Nobu Uematsu. And I tell you, it's like I'm so appreciative that I already have played the original version of the game, because seeing what was being represented in that trailer with the music that they were. I was actually texting Hogue about it. He was also very emotional about it. So wow. Because it's such a big Final Fantasy like stan, and it was like, yeah, it's like melodrama to the max, like just how you love it for Final Fantasy, and that concurred with them winning most anticipated game, which it was obvious when you have a game this big this soon. How will it not win, right? So when it's like it's right within our grasps. By the way, what they were showing in the musical interlude was the second half of the trailer. They launched a trailer. I don't know if you got to see it.
I actually went back and watched the full thing. I did not realize at first that it was that was only part of it. So that was crazy to see the whole thing in action.
Especially when it started.
Yeah. Yep.
When it started, I was like,
bullet. I'm like, no, there's a lot going on. I already watched Maximilian Dude's video breaking it down, and the lore implications.
He's just the best, by the way. Like, he has really made me love Final Fantasy VII much more, because like his love for that game is so infectious. His knowledge.
I am not nearly like close to his level of liking fighting games in the slightest. Just his knowledge and his passion are so infectious about anything he watches. It's rare that he ever like just straight up hates something. If he doesn't like it, he just stops dealing with it. But the fact that he'll talk about Final Fantasy VII and gush about it. Sometimes I still go back to that Final Fantasy VII remake video, and it's just like,
that helps.
Internet,
like,
man.
I love like as much problems I have with some content creators, like I really latch on to the good ones. I love latching on, and I feel Maximilian did it. Like for this game specifically, it's been so good at like feeding me the excitement that I have. Like this to me, 2023 is the year that I got Final Fantasy, like beyond just 16, and being able to go back to all those old games and all that. You finally being able to beat a game that you never beat years ago on PSP. Also, it's like, and then obviously they gave me the blue balls with Apex Legends. Like the big announcement was like they were doing
they really caught us on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was Fortnite. I was like, no. I mean, do you think like when the first look, I was like, is this Fortnite? I was like, oh no, it's Apex.
I only realized something was up when the sword showed up, and I was like, okay, this isn't the actual game. It's got to be like an outfit in an existing game or something. And then when it was Apex, I went, oh. Because even when they showed the outfits, I don't think they were very good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, they did not look good.
I feel Apex, it's great as a shooter that you play and all that. I know the monetization side of it has just not been great, and it seems like that is still a problem. So we'll see. With that one, it's like I don't know. It's like we're so overwhelmed now with like so many shooters. Like I feel like we finally got Fortnite. I'm kind of like comfortable staying there right now, especially with the things that they've launched with Fortnite. So, but I did legitimately like Apex before. Like now, before my appreciation for Fortnite, that game felt to me was like, hey, if I have to play a game in this damn genre that's like taking the world, I'm glad I'm playing one that I like how it plays. Fortnite didn't play well at first. It plays well now, because they had to steal so many mechanics from so many other places. So the next announcement, Paul, this one, I had to bite my tongue for an entire week when we got told this over at Season Gaming. I was only allowed to say that the developer that was coming, especially because the developer started leaking like that same day. So that's why I told you, it was like, oh yeah, I know what this game is. It's not gonna. The only thing I could tell you that it was not gonna be either Dishonored or Deathloop, because because obviously there's two Arcanes. The Arcane from this year gave us Redfall. That was the Prey team. And the Dishonored and Deathloop team was the Leon team. This was their next game. And what was it, Paul?
That was... Shoot, I just had it. There was the Blade game.
Yeah. Xbox, finally, after so many people being like, why don't you have a superhero game? How could you, like, fall asleep right now where trying to get a licensed stuff under one of your studios can be so big? I feel they found a good fit with Arcane. When I think of what Arcane is, thinking of Blade, like, I think that feels like a good, especially when you think about the powers that they use like in Dishonored and all of that, and trying to like put a Blade spin on it, even though this game's gonna be third person instead of first person, like it usually is. Like, I feel it's like an immersive sim Blade game is like such a nice proposition. And obviously right now there's a hullabaloo that when you looked at the trailer, it has literally no Xbox branding anywhere. Only it says Bethesda and Arcane. Funny. And now we are in this like the problem that Xbox faces every freaking time. Is this gonna be exclusive? Is this multi-platform? Why are they so bad at making it clear? If this was Insomniac announcing a Blade game, you would know. It'd be like, oh yeah, they got an exclusive Blade game. Like if it was theirs, like why are they so bad at this? Even so many Xbox diehards, I'm like, we're so tired. It's like we have told them many, many times. Why are they always so obtuse about it? And I don't mind if it's exclusive. It's like, yeah, have one. We already enjoy it like exclusive. We're getting 2 superhero games over in PlayStation. We only got Spider-Man and Wolverine's coming soon. So it's like they deserve to have one. Why didn't you plaster things? Apparently, what I was hearing was that, believe it or not, Paul, the FTC thing is still a thing. They were able to and the thing is that they could close the sale, but the FTC can still fight that. And apparently, the FTC is fighting that. So apparently this could, like, some rumors are that they eliminated our branding to kind of give an idea that this is also not one of those games that they're trying to remove. I'm like, is that still a problem? God damn it. It's like, can that just never end? Especially with the FTC, can they just not take the L and move on? Like, damn. So, yeah, Blade game. Super exciting. It's like, that was like, when I heard that, I was like, even though me, I was like, yeah, another Marvel game. I knew for Sebastion in particular that he still loves that brand so much. Their reaction was excited, like, because he was the first one. He was like, "Is that Blade?" so that was cool. So at least I'm glad that I didn't take that moment away. Even though he was already bracing for Impact when I told him it was not Deathloop, he was, I would have loved another Deathloop. So it might be a new IP So when he said that, I was like, no, literally. And I didn't even tell. Yeah, I didn't even tell you that anything. So I'm glad I didn't. So. Then the next game that they announced, this looked really cool. I wish I could have seen gameplay, but just the idea of who's involved in making it makes me curious, because it's a former Rockstar developer teaming up with some former Naughty Dog people and somewhere else. It's called Last Sentinel, an open world futuristic game. And I'm like, a GTA in the future. Obviously, we got Cyberpunk, but another game that is not Cyberpunk, kind of like in that vibe, with former Rockstar and Naughty Dog people. Sign me up whenever it shows up. No release window for that one. So, and then we got another look at the first Descendant, which was one of the final games unveiled at the Game Awards of 2021. It was like one of the last games there, and this was like a bigger look at a 4-player shooter game fighting these big bosses and all that. That kind of like looked cool, and it's coming out in summer 2024. So. Somehow still coming up for Xbox One and PS4. Like, it's insane that people are still making games for those like old ass systems. Then we got the Mecha Break game, which was a multiplayer game that looked like Armored Core a little bit. Like, it was so blatantly Armored Core, but it's a multiplayer game. That has a closed alpha test coming soon. No release window. Anything you want to say about that before we move on? Or
just Mecha Break looks awesome, and
yeah.
I want to see it, honestly. And same thing with Last Sentinel. Definitely interested in whatever that is.
Yeah.
But yep.
And then the old gods of this is when we got the old gods of Asgard performing the We Sing song, which just... I was glad to see again, like getting to see the choreography and all that. But it's like then I realized because there's a much cooler song in that game, the one with the old gods of Asgard at the lake near the end.
Honestly, I still think Herald of Darkness is my favorite. I did also confirm. Herald of Darkness is the only game song on Spotify for them.
Oh yeah,
they did not put the others on yet.
It just that's weird, because I thought they put the other ones from like the saves, or was it just Apple Music right now? Ooh, there's weird licensing stuff. Music. Yeah, yep. Because it was so funny because I used Shazam, like because some of those songs were like, and one of those songs kept playing every time that Sam Lake. Kept walking on stage.
Yeah, that's the one that I was like, what is the name of that song?
I remember I Shazam that, because it was like, I can feel the vibe, and I'm like, yeah, it's really interesting to think that the actor that is the face of Alan Wake, but the voice is someone completely different, and they had the actual voice to the side with the actor David Herwood, who played Mr. Door, kind of as they were doing the thing while he was still doing. He was lip syncing. It was fun, like seeing him completely lip syncing so perfectly the song that felt like he was singing. But apparently, I read Sam Lake wasn't supposed to be in the choreography. He just joined because he was already backstage
That's
because
fantastic.
yeah,
And it makes sense because he already knows all the choreography.
the choreography
anyway.
exactly, yeah.
So if I was him and I just made the thing, I'd be like, "Throw me
Hell
in,
yeah.
man! I'm
Yeah.
hyped."
No, and I was like, if you let Matang, the guy that was like, I would dedicate this award to Bill Clinton last year, just to walk in the stage. Why not a guy that won 3 awards that 3 awards in the show? 'Cause I was like, yeah, I was glad to see that performance. But again, it's like I tell you, people, if you got to see that and be like, what's the big deal about that? Play Alan Wake 2. Get to Alan Wake's Chapter 4. You probably can see a walkthrough to it. Is like it is an astonishing. It is the most astonishing level in any game this year. Paul saw it first. He hyped it up. He undersold it to me. It's like it's really it's such a cool.
I didn't
moment.
want to oversell it just in case, but I was like, he's going to love this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we got a new heist game from 10 Chambers, the Payday creators, called Den of Wolves. This was a game that actually, when I was reviewing, helping Travis review The Anacrusis, a bad game, by the way. He gave it a 4 out of 10. He posted the link of the review. He was like, "Hey guys, this is the bad time for me to promote this, but I reviewed Anacrusis. It's not good." And it was so. He told me that he knew about this game. He told me, he was like, "Yeah," because I asked him, were you also briefed about a couple of things? He was like, "Yeah, we get briefed a lot of some of the games that are going to show up here because they pre-write the stories." Like they're briefed of what they're announcing, so they can like pre-write the stories that they launch on the side when the games are announced. If you like see a game and then you go to IGN and see that they have a story, it's not that they were able to like type it at record speed. It's like, no, they pre-write them. So this was one of them, and he was excited for this, especially because you know that he loves Payday. So a game that kind of has that Payday look, but it's kind of like a heist game that you go into the minds of people. That it's very cyberpunkian. It's like,
so it's Inception.
Yeah, it's like Inception. So it's like there's so much cool stuff in concept that we hope that at least they fix the Payday. Right now, Payday 3 is like going through the growing pains that you expect from the series. Like,
I think I said it and I meant it. Or it's like, I'm really glad I got to play this on at release. Can't wait to come back in a decade when it's all like worth what it is.
Yes, and the thing is that it started good and then it got bad. So with all the patches and not working. So, but yeah, Den of Wolves, no release window from what I gather, but hey, cool announcement. There was also this game called Exoborn that looked cool, but I didn't get a vibe of exactly what it was. So sleep until we hear more.
My one moment of comedy was saying it's
Warzone
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, Warzone. Yeah,
that was what I said, because it's just an extraction shooter with exosuits, and I was like, all right, let's show me more, but until then, bye.
Yeah, market getting penetrated, overly saturated. So, and then Hello Games dev Sean Murray taking the stage with Jeff Keighley to announce their new big multiplayer game called Light No Fire. So basically, they're taking the procedural generation that created the massive universe of No Man's Sky, and they're like reining it in into a full planet.
I gotta tell you though, I need this man Sean Murray to learn the concept of humility.
Yeah.
Because he was like, this might be more ambitious than No Man's Sky. I was like, Sean, stop it. We just got out of the pit you dug.
Right? That's what's so funny. It was like, there was a certain irony because obviously Jeff Keighley debuted No Man's Sky back in 2013. So there's history of their games showing up here.
Said the exact same thing. And I love that Light No Fire's symbol is literally just the No Man's Sky red diamond again, but with the top half of it missing.
Exactly.
Honestly, this is not a sell for me at all. This does not look interesting. This just looks like every other survival game.
Yeah. I think my thing is like when I remember the size of the team that is Hello Games and you look at the geographic size of the game, it's like, okay, that's still impressive because Jeff Keighley did make a point. It's like, it's like this is a very tiny team and their technology allows them to make a game that feels like 1,000 people played. My big thing is that are all the lessons from No Man's Sky immediately gonna be like in this game? I would hope so, because No Man's Sky is awesome now. It took how long? With so many free updates and things like that to get it to be the ambitious game so many people wanted it to be. I would hope that now like a game that has more tangible like geometry to it, has more plan, like has more plan and thought put into it. So this is definitely I'm gonna keep a close eye on Shin Mori. Hopefully he doesn't go to Colbert again and overpromise the stars again. like he did before. So it's like he needs a better PR handle. Here's the thing, like Sean Murray's, I believe his passion. I do believe it, but there's a difference. Like, would you be able to go, Paul, like in your passion to be able to like talk about your game and all that? There's some people that are just not media trained, and I feel he's one of them. So
yeah.
So
yeah,
I hope
think
that,
so. Especially after all that he's done, I would think he would have learned. But
it's been 10 years. Yeah, I can't believe it's 10 years. It was like I was like, this was the Biff 10 and Back to the Future 2. I was like, I feel like I've seen this before right now. So then we got a bunch of like Stormgate, the game made by the StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 developers, is entering early access in summer 2024. This was Simu Liu, which is Shang-Chi, went on a whole tirade about like he was a big StarCraft player and like he broke his leg, and I'm like, and that was kind of my problem, is like they let him go on those rambles, but then the winners are just like shuffle off. It was like pisses me off. Tired of that. So then Elfeld Valentine, I think that was the thing that you were really concerned that he's coming to Guilty Gear Strive, because like
well, I wasn't concerned. I just thought it was really like well targeted for the audience.
Oh yeah.
Because Elfeld is a character, I had almost forgotten this, but she's from previous Guilty Gear games. But of course, like with all the other characters, she got fully redesigned.
Makes sense.
To be exactly what people are into right now.
Yeah.
But actually, it's awesome because she's like a metalhead. So her like gun as a microphone. So whenever she wins, she does this crazy screamo move. I gotta give it to Arxis though. Just the animation department doing so good with personality.
Guilty Gear Strive. I got to try it on Game Pass. So damn good. It was a fighting game. It's so damn good. Yeah.
I got really into it back at release, if you remember.
Oh yeah, I totally did. This was my. Other than my big three pops were the God of War free DLC, a Moon Studios game, and this was the other thing that I popped because I had heard the timing was now, but I still was like so happy to see them here, despite them like their big win was a shotgun blast in best score, and Ben Starr didn't win. The Final Fantasy 16 DLC that got promised by Joshi P after they confirmed that the game was financially successful for them, even though if it wasn't a massive success, but they were going to keep building on it. They revealed both pieces of DLC, Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide. Echoes of the Fallen is launched immediately. I have it downloaded now. There's like an 8 gig thing. It's supposed to be 3 hours, and there was this area in the northwest area of Balestia that if you went to the site, there was like this door that didn't open. Apparently, this DLC is that. And it's about fighting something called Omega, and you can kind of see it in some of the screenshots that it looks very like sci-fi.
I remember that. No.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that now.
It was to the side. I was like, why is this door here? Yeah.
Like, I thought it was something I was going to have to come back to, or I thought it was like the vaults in Final Fantasy 15, where it's like, oh, I'm going to get a thing in the plot, and then it's going to like, I can go back to all of these vaults or something, but turns out it was DLC.
Yeah. So how they figure out DLC is that they're gonna set all of it before going to Origin, the big,
which makes sense. I mean,
the big moment.
That's what you do now. You set everything with your DLC to be before.
Especially because this
point of no return.
Yeah, especially because the big point of no return of this game ended in such tragedy. I tell you, Paul, getting to play a little bit because I went back to the arcade mode just to kind of get my feet wet, and you can change the costumes of the characters there in the pillar where you access the arcade mode because they did that as free DLC, and we got the Buster Sword now from Cloud. It's part of the DLC that we bought. I feel very emotional.
Hang on.
Yeah, because we
Cloud's Buster
Sword. Yeah, and you can transmog it. Yeah, you can transmog it. So it's So you get that, and
does that mean they have to make it thinner so it fits into Clive's?
It looks
sheath?
Big. You'll see it. I saw an image of it. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Seeing in the video, like seeing Clive and seeing Jill and seeing Joshua again, got me very emotional. Like because I was like, how that game like really hit me, and I was like, that was probably one of the reasons why I've stopped myself from playing, because like this game still strikes a nerve, like how it ended. So I was like, man, this game really, really hit me. Getting to see them again, and I can't wait to see how they do the Leviathan, the Rising Tide DLC that's coming out in spring. We got to see a little glimpse of the boss fight where you're fighting Leviathan in the ocean. That's like really, really cool. and I can't wait to see his icon powers. So, yeah, glad I get to play more Final Fantasy 16. I have a reason to. Avatar, I know I'm reviewing you, but you're in danger. But it's a good thing that I heard that this DLC is 3 hours long, and the next one, the director's is going to be like 10 hours. So at 10 hours. So it's like, that seems pretty reasonable for like a $20 thing. And then the finals, the shooter that's basically Battlefield free-to-play by Nexon. That, I tell you, I heard so much positivity during betas and the alpha test.
It's crazy because the last thing that I heard about it, I didn't remember it being a positive experience.
The thing is that there was controversy over the voiceovers of the announcers being AI. That was like
That's what it was.
That's like the only thing that was like, dude, the game is like so good. It's like so fun. It's like it nails that Battlefield feeling. Why are you using AI? Why right now use AI when that's like a big problem with the strikes? So
I might as well download it then.
Yeah, it's 9 gigs. I downloaded it yesterday, but I didn't play it, so I definitely want to give it a try because I know that the seasoned gaming crowd, when the alpha was on PC and they played it, they kept raving about it. So I was like, okay, I believe it.
Good
and then the last big announcement, Capcom's going back to Monster Hunter with Monster Hunter Wilds. And the big thing of this one is that this is the first official, like, new gen only Monster Hunter game, because Monster Hunter World was just on PS4 and PS4 and Xbox One, and had PS5 patch kind of like for it to run at 60 frames. You played it on Series X and
Rise was Switch, and then it was ported.
Ported,
it was not great.
Here's the thing, it is
crucify me for that.
Yeah, I know. Here's the thing, it's like it has such horrible onboarding, but it's like it's still great. But Wilds is gonna be the first seamless open world Monster Hunter game, because you know how Monster Hunter is like segmented through different areas.
Yeah, this looks solid. Yeah, I will tell you, like, because I remember when Monster Hunter World came out, that was 2017, wasn't it?
World was 2018. January.
2018, excuse me. I went so hard with
I went hard,
on this one.
Yeah.
I played through the whole like storyline, whatever. I still like redid stuff. I can't remember most of it, but every once in a while I get like this muscle memory because I was a Charge Blade fanatic.
Oh yeah.
The most convoluted freaking thing in the world, but it was so fun when you pulled it off. And the Switch Axe. So
yeah.
Yeah, I really
World was so great. World was my obsession in January 2018 because that was also the... Remember why I mentioned that I was going through a rough patch and that earlier, before, until at least God of War 2018 kind of like finally rejuvenated me. World was one of the few that I was like, this feels like a good escape. So it's like more of that, I'll take it. Because that was the game that made me get Monster Hunter. Rise, I was like, oof. Yeah, it's like... And I bought Rise also, so... It was like on sale on PS5 because I was like, we tried it on the Xbox Series S. I want to see if I can bump it up more to the PlayStation. I'm like, I wish I had more people to play this with. But that was the final announcement. Again, look at all that was announced. What a great variety. This was E3 level. Jeff Keighley, I beg you. You have it. It's so easy. I'll give it to you. You have Summer Game Fest. This is Winter Game Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be super easy.
DJ, the most cynical, close-minded bastard that we know, that hates these shows. He was buzzing with this show. He was absolutely buzzing. Yeah. And I'm like, but it's not because of who won.
That, like, the 5 things that he was into all got represented. That's why.
I know, but it's like, but also it's like quality of announcements. It's like kind of like, just don't bother kind of like be like you know what I would do? Like, if he's so insistent of trying to reward people, how about you make this a winter game fest with a player boat, and just like that, just like, make it a player boat and leave it at that, because it's like the desire to make this an Oscar style show where he emphasizes so much your game announcement is like, I feel like he's gonna feel he already felt the heat going into the show because of the nominations and the things that people were wanting him to say that he ended up doing neither. But it's like, then you see, I cannot fault the quality of announcements that wasn't this thing. Like, I thought it was good, even though there were also a lot of ad breaks and all of that, and it just felt like a lot of focus was being put in the wrong reasons for the thing over the things. And I like the variety that was shown in display. I was very interested in many of these games. I can't wait to see more. I definitely gonna play that, and the imminence of so many of these also. At least we have a better idea of what awaits us all the way until May, at least. I was scared, a little bit more scared going into this coming year of like, yeah, it's gonna be like a huge drought, right? I feel we're taken care of until April at least. I'm down with a May that's like nothing because
pretty easily. Because like the summer's already gonna have a decent amount of stuff, and I don't know. I need to see a lot of it in front of me right now. Do you know when Game Informer does their like 2024?
It's already up.
List it all.
That's the thing. As soon they already have it up, so you can go there and see if they have added the dates. And that's the thing. There's so many games that still don't have dates, so that's why I'm even more curious. But I'm feeling more confident that 2024 may not be the banger this year was, but we're also not gonna be. It's not gonna be 2022 where we were in the desert. Literal desert. I don't think it's
going to be as bad as we were really fearing anymore, especially now, because we're getting like a solid few, even if it's going to be maybe a couple months or something. Of course, it doesn't want to load anymore. But,
but January through March, we're taken care of. Like January's stacked.
Yeah, definitely.
Prince of Persia, Last of Us, Army Tekken 8. Then for February, I am excited for Suicide Squad after I played it, people. Yeah. I got to play it. I'm excited to see more of Banisher, that game, like also from Donut. Helldivers 2 seems interesting. It seems like a fun shooter to waste time. And it's kind of cheap. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth already there, big banger. Dragon's Dogma 2 Rise of the Ronin already in March. The Final Fantasy 16 second DLC already in March. That 2D game from April already there. So it's like when I start like parsing like the year, I think we're taken care of. Like,
yeah, I mean, especially when you finally look at the to be announced, where it's like
a lot, right?
Just go through all of this stuff, all of these different little things. We're gonna find plenty. To find interesting. Space Marines. Where was
September?
That supposed to be?
September 2024.
September.
It got delayed.
That was another one that I know that's going to be a big hype. We have our Final Fantasy 14 expansion, if that's what we end up going back to.
Yeah, because I committed already to all that, to getting all the DLC. I just have to find the time to play through all of it, paying the subscription.
Lord have mercy, that's for sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're not going to read game announcements. We're not going to get what's coming out because there's nothing really coming out anymore.
There's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so it's like, that concludes, Paul, like our Game Awards like recap and this week's episode of the Xbox as we lead to the final one next week for this season.
Yep.
Because we're coming back
next year.
Yeah, season 4. So, Paul, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I finally posted something that I drew, even if it was in my work notebook and nothing really professional. But I really hope to change that because I had so much joy coming from randomly drawing this design on a game that I thought was cool that I really want to do that more and just strike while the iron's hot. Yeah. But also, I've been posting... Actually, I haven't posted any screenshots, but I did post me getting a few kills and Fortnite, baby.
I can't wait
for like such a hypocrite.
Yeah. Hey, next week it's gonna be the last time we can get to talk about the games that we've been playing. We can talk all about Fortnite.
I'll talk a little bit about it and the fact that Zero Build is literally the best thing that I've ever seen them do. Yeah. I'm so glad Zero Build exists because even now, looking at build games and like this is tips to build faster, I was like, you can keep all of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super smart. It was such a smart addition for them. So,
also, I'm very glad that we bought what we did buy because the last couple of days have been trash in the shop.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad. I needed my wallet to feel stung because I did spend. I bought the Witcher sets for Destiny also, so it was like a.
That's right, you did.
Yes, it's like
I was gonna buy it at one point, and then I decided that I don't know if my joy is in Destiny enough to justify spending more money on it.
Yeah, I like the dungeon a lot, so that's why I was like, I'll buy it for this.
The dungeon is pretty good. I will give them that.
The exotic, there's an exotic quest coming soon, so I can't wait for that one too. I love their exotic quests, and it's like, do we have a lot? That's the thing, like. Why is December usually a time where we're like, what else can we play? Why are 2 Decembers in a row? I feel like we're packed of stuff. Me also because there's 2 games that I still want to catch up on, like Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate, now like this Final Fantasy DLC, the Avatar game that I'm really liking, and we still have to play co-op. I need to test how that works. I'll have you join on my session. So we'll see. It's like, yeah, it's like and last year it was Witcher, Crisis Core, Callisto Protocol, Need for Speed Unbound. It was like it was good Decembers. This used to not be that. So yeah, they can find you at Dork of Art. They can find me at _Josegovia on Twitter /X. They can find me at Alejandro Segovia 93 on Threads /Instagram, and they can find my written content about thecriticalcorner.com and seasongaming.com. I recently posted a editorial about the Game Awards arguing for a rebrand over at Season Gaming today. It's like I was been getting a lot of DMs about it. So it's like, thank you for saying like what we were thinking, like in such a easy, eloquent way. I was like, yeah, I was like, this was just how I felt. Even though I was wanting to be more scathing, but I was like, you know what? It's like, I don't want to be like internet angry commenter. And then if I finish Avatar on time, that's going to be my next review. So, and then we're going to start the next year again. So,
can't believe it.
Yeah, and everyone, we want to thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We appreciate you. We got to see the stats in our Spotify Wrapped. They were very, very encouraging, especially from the audio side. Video is definitely, video side definitely more up and down, but us posting the video in Spotify, that was like a clear like before and after of jumping our engagement, because Spotify likes promoting more video stuff. So like,
I didn't even know that was a thing, honestly.
Yeah, I started putting. I was like, I just, instead of having to render twice the file, I just put the same file, and it just extracts the audio by itself and also puts the video. So
fantastic.
So yeah, excited to see the continuous growth, and also bringing in more people that's going to join us as for guests this coming year that are open for like to come back. That's going to be fun. But then we're going to wrap up the year next week, Paul. So everyone, thank you so much. If you like what you listen, give us a like and subscribe. Share it. If you're feeling a certain way, share some comments too. Let us know how you feel, and
tell us how wrong we are, please.
Yeah, because that's usually how we get interactions. Kind of like that.
100% how we get interactions.
Yes, because obviously people can't be happy. I did enjoy that Hogue because he shared his episode. A lot of his people came to the video. Very nice people, be like, Hogue sent us. This is a lovely discussion and all that. So I was like, yep. I need more wholesome people to listen to us. So
true that.
But until then, enjoy the rest of December as we keep getting closer and closer to Christmas and the winter weathers, the winds of winter, whatever you want to call it. Or you're probably in a tropical area where it's like summer now. So, and probably touch grass if you can, or go play with some snow, and
press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.